it's not good for your brain, and it'll probably cause you to have Alzheimer's, but I do need to do it. Okay, so we are going to call to order our meeting. Sandy, would you do the roll call, please?
Rice? Here. Berkowitz? Here. Brooks?
Here.
Cohen? Here. Markham?
Here.
Mueller?
Here.
Ogalla?
Here.
Summers? Here. Trenier?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. Greta, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. A motion for approval of last month's meeting minutes.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Legislative reports. We have the one from August 19th and the one from August 26th. Does anybody have anything they want to ask, question, comment on? No? Nothing? Okay. We were going to talk about the state legislative agenda. We put that on here. If there's anything anybody would like to add. I know, Judy, you wanted the drainage districts. You want to talk about that just to remind us?
Sure. When I had attended the Will County Farm Bureau's legislative barn dinner, at that meeting we talked, Mark Schneiderwin brought up the conversation about what we did do to get the taxes and everything. And so then I discussed about the fact that we had not done the drainage district, and all of them had mentioned to me that they had not heard about it. And so Pat McGuire, everyone in attendance thought it was a good idea to follow up on it. So I said, okay, well, see if we can get that on our legislative agenda.
Okay.
Yep.
For now, I think that's a good idea. We'll put a draft document together. We need to take a vote on it.
I don't believe so. I mean, I think, you know,
Everybody was kind of in agreement.
one of the purposes of this committee is to direct sort of, you know, the staff as to where you want to go in regards to what next year's legislative goals should be. So, you know, as you come up with these things, we will put them in the list, and then when we do an initial draft, everyone will get the chance to look at that and make their comments. And we're hoping to do that, you know, very early on in this session. I think it's important to have a document that will have some influence on our own legislators. So, you know, that's why we want to do it early, and Jackie and Beth are leading that up, and you know, so I know we're going to have another meeting soon. So if you have ideas, please send them to Jackie, and she will send them to me.
Everyone in attendance, we had, well, there were only 4. Anthony DeLuca came, but he had to go to his University Park water issue going on. But it was LJ Sims, Pat McGuire, Lindsay Parkhurst, and Nick Smith. And Laura Elmont. And they all thought it was a good idea to do that, and that they would be supportive of it. So
Great. That's always good, because those are people who can carry the bill.
because they're in our district, yeah.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Good. Judy, that's great. Anybody else?
I'm interested for the, sorry.
Good.
Okay, I'm interested for the upcoming state agenda, but I'm still researching it, looking at what other states do to incentivize electric charging stations and advocating for some of those being available in Will County at prime spots. But I'm still trying to figure out what other states have successfully done.
Yeah. Is that like
So
a
it's just
legislative decision or a policy decision that we would do at the county level? I'm not 100% sure.
You know, we have a green energy division or whatever in the state. That's how we get rebates on things. I got a rebate on my car, and I maybe got something for my windows, although that might have been federal, I don't know. But I know we've had money on the state.
From my basic understanding, most of it is happening at the state level.
Sure.
And
We
just
can actually
having to look into it further, but
can ask
throwing it
Sam
out
and Dean
there.
also.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure they are way more knowledgeable than a lot of us, I will say. But Solar Sam is I'm sure, willing to look into it for us. So I'll talk to her.
Julie?
I have a
question about, this is about safety on the roads. You know, with our quarries and all of our mineral resources, the trucking in our area, I know several people that have been impacted by debris falling out of these huge trucks, or even rocks and gravel. And there doesn't appear to be any consistency in covering the load when they leave these businesses. I've made some phone calls and found that there is really no legislation that monitors. I haven't been able to pinpoint anything.
You would think even the garbage trucks would.
Well, and you'll notice that a lot of, like I've spoken with some of these companies, and they have the covers that go over the load, but it's not necessarily practiced. And I drove around for 2 weeks looking and observing, and I saw a lot of trucks where they never bothered to cover their load.
Yeah.
So is there anything we can do, because, I mean, that is quite dangerous.
I mean, I can tell you, you know, 30 plus years ago, trucks used to not have those flaps behind their tires, and that became a real issue. So legislation was put in place to now they do have to have those flaps. And I do know, Julie, just from being a prosecutor for 8 years, that, and myself prosecuting truck enforcement in general, there are a lot of truck enforcement for the highway regulations. Some of them may be federal regulations, but I can definitely look into it.
So I'm specifically talking about the covers
Sure.
above the...
Right.
Yeah, and they're required, depending on what their load is. I've been hit by a rock with an uncovered truck. I think a lot of people probably have. My guess is that that's not, that they're supposed to have, you know, their beds clear when they're driving around, so.
Just this morning I was following a truck on the way here, and it was mounted over the top of the container. And, you know, on an extremely windy day, or if they come to an abrupt halt, I just think if...
No, it's a good idea. We'll check into it.
Sure, yep, we can definitely look into it.
Yeah, thank you.
Mimi, Lori, anybody, her, Mike?
Yeah, I got a couple things I wanted to mention. One, we mentioned in here the LGDF funds, and we know we don't want them to reduce that. I do think before our cannabis discussion, which is coming up at a later date, we need to super clarify, and I've talked to Joe at ISACO, but then I've talked to attorneys on the other side, saying that of the tax dollars that are coming in from the state, 8% of that money is going to go into LGDF funds. It doesn't say that we're going to get 8% more. I think we need to get clarification that if that's just filling that pot and we're going to get our normal distribution, or if, as some attorneys I have talked to who are advising other areas, they're telling them not to opt out. You don't have to have dispensaries, you don't have to have growth facilities, but if you don't opt out, you might get more because of that 8%. So I think we need to clarify that before we have our cannabis discussion.
Thank you. No, absolutely.
And then the second thing is on the e-cigarettes, in light of what's happening, I think we need to make our recommendation even stronger and maybe call for a ban on this stuff because it's out of control until they know what is causing this stuff.
Can we do something stronger than the state?
Well, I mean, recommended to the state, and here we just say, don't advertise to kids and license people. I think the state has to come in and put a ban on or regulate if they can't find out what's causing the issues. I mean, we know what cigarettes, what issues they cause, at least we know why you're getting that. We don't know why these people are getting
Yeah, I heard
issues, having the
something,
issues they're having.
yeah, I did hear something to the effect that it's vitamin E, which is,
It's not, I mean, the oil.
it's the oil, right?
It's not vitamin D. It's like an acetate, but it's a mix of some sort.
There's so many
chemical.
theories right now. They're also
Right.
saying that the electric element in there may be firing off little pieces of metal from the element causing toxins.
I didn't
So,
hear that one.
And I
I think we just need, in this particular agenda, we need to be a little stronger and say sales should be stopped until they figure out what's going on.
And if you're interested, I do know, I'm sure a lot of you saw the paper, where, their names are Ruby and Tim Johnson. They have an 18-year-old daughter named Piper.
Yeah.
Tim and I have been friends since grade school, so I can tell you 100% they're not doing this because they're looking for fame and fortune. But I do know that Ruby is willing to speak about it. So you might want to think about if that's something that you're interested in, or just I know that their whole intention was to simply shine a light on that industry. So
Thanks, Maureen. Herb, did you have something?
I had a deal, I went off and left it, I forgot my iPad.
What was it about, sweetie?
It was about the minority bill that I talked to
Oh,
you
the
about.
contract.
The contract,
Yeah, we've
right.
mentioned it before.
Right, yeah, and I missed that
But I
meeting, but I
think-
went off and left it.
My understanding is we just need to maybe do something at the county level. Didn't the state do something?
It's already law.
Yeah, it's already law.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
just need to have a county policy, and I
Right,
don't know if
I
that's
pulled
for
it
the
up.
I don't think that's for our committee. That's all I would say.
and I will say we have Denise has been a real proponent of that, and I know leadership has also talked about it. We've had some initial meetings with some people regarding how we can be at the front of that.
And you're working on creating a policy for the county.
Correct.
So that would go to like executive committee or something. I mean, that's not,
Yes.
not
Yes.
us.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, we're working on it,
Good.
but we're
Yeah.
trying to put it into practice as fast as possible.
And I know they already passed, I downloaded it, I
Yeah.
was gonna look at it, but I
We
forgot
talked about it.
But yeah, we talked about it.
You were
Okay.
somewhere, but we did bring it up
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
agenda.
okay.
I mean, we know it's needed.
Well, I know you all talked about me when I wasn't there. That's
Absolutely.
common, but,
Her, that is our
It was good
job.
this time, it was good. Thank you.
Gossiping about it.
Thank you.
Mimi, Lori? Lori? Yeah. Or Mike, turn yourself off.
One of the ones that I'm happy to see going forward is the change in the labor force in nursing homes. We're also doing that at a federal level, which I talked about at Public Health and Safety. We sent forward a resolution to change the staffing levels in the nursing
So you'd like to
homes.
see something in our agenda on that, or,
It's-
I mean, is it,
It's there. It's just saying we've got this as well. So
Right.
that's a good thing, and it's gonna go into federally too.
right?
So.
But no, I mean in our state legislative agenda.
Isn't that what this is?
Did we have something on nursing levels?
No, that's the
Oh, SACO.
That's a SACO.
So I was looking through this and reading.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Like
okay.
big time important.
Yeah, but I guess my question is something already been done at the state level that we don't need to do something, or do we just need to urge?
Well, the
I think
SACO-
we need to encourage that. Okay. All right, staffing levels at nursing home, got it.
She just said she thinks it's yes.
Is it staffing levels or is it staffing?
And it's only,
It's an ISACO, so.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Okay. Mimi's gonna check into it further for me.
Great.
Do we
Okay.
also want to include assisted living?
Yeah,
facilities?
probably, yeah, Alzheimer's units, all that.
You know,
yeah.
they're, I haven't-
Alzheimer's units are considered long-term care facilities, so that would be inclusive in here.
Would assisted living be?
Assisted living facilities, depending on how much assistance they need,
Right,
they have 24-hour care. So it's not the same level
right.
of care as a long-term care skilled
Well,
facility.
actually, I've been in 4 different facilities this year, not
Lucky
my
you.
choice. And I have to tell you that in these assisted living facilities, they have people that need the most care.
Well, that's the level of care they're
yeah.
at, and then the next step is to go to a long-term
Right.
facility duties where they're at.
Yeah, there's different levels. I mean, even like at St. Franciscan Village in Lamont, you've got the people that live by themselves in those little houses, and then you've got people that live in apartments, and then you've got a nursing home.
Right.
So you've got a lot of different levels all in the same facility, and they do get more staffing depending on what the severity of the,
Depending on what level.
But they do have, many of these places do have staffing issues.
Well,
It'll be like,
It's hard to
Julie,
staff healthcare.
they can't get
Nobody
people.
wants to do the
Right
job
now,
anymore.
in the Census Bureau, they're asking people that live in Naperville and Bolingbrook to travel to Iowa to do this 8-week census project. There's nobody that wants these jobs. They're 19 bucks an hour, and they can't get help. We have a shortage. Right, it's just temporary, but,
If
you know,
everybody's employed, I mean, if you've got almost full
Yeah.
employment, who's gonna leave a full-time job,
That's-
even if they're making $10 an hour?
Right.
They're gonna have part-time and then be done.
that's exactly it. So, I mean, there's definite problems. I mean, but there are people on unemployment right now that could take those jobs and do them temporarily and then go back to unemployment or get a job. That's what my husband did. So, but they have a huge shortage. And the people that started those jobs, more than half of them are gone already. And it hasn't been 8 weeks yet.
Are we talking about healthcare?
Yeah, I'm
Just staff, no, let's talk about staffing, trying to get people to do jobs. It's difficult. I couldn't get help at my cleaning business. I mean,
Jackie, how long are those, is the duration of those census jobs?
the current project
Do they give
is
them
8 weeks, and then they start over again in January. That's the project my
Right, but
husband's
for the
working on.
project in Iowa she's talking about, it's 8 weeks, but
I mean, in general, overall, is it like that everywhere or just in Iowa?
oh, I don't know.
This first part is 8 weeks, and I forget what they call it, but it's like a test or whatever to make sure the houses that we think are there, and look for homeless people locations. And then after that's done, then they go on in, it's January, right? To start the actual census, which probably, would it take a year, Meta? Is that what you've been told?
I've been told that it'll probably be, yeah, summertime.
Yeah, so that position is gonna last quite a while. So it's just staffing. It's really hard to find people. Laura, you must see it in healthcare that you're working in.
Well, I see it A because of, especially in the CNA end,
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
And so the other thing, there's a nursing shortage like pretty much consistently. People are moving on to retire from it. The CNAs are the hardest working people there are. They get no stinking credit.
Right.
And low pay.
They get horrible pay.
Yeah,
And I can't be everywhere at once. They're my eyes and ears.
right.
So this hopefully, as well as the federal one, will help.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else, Lori?
Nope.
Mimi? Nothing? Mike, come back to you.
I mean, I know this is draft, we're gonna clean this up, right?
Oh, yes.
So like where we say on our roads, we say, with the strong possibility of a state capital bill.
Yeah, this is
Right.
old.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
last
Right,
year.
Last year, we just kind of cleaned.
Yeah,
it
we're
up.
gonna clean it up, we're gonna add some new things, we're gonna take out the things we got, like the airport property tax, you know, those kind of things are gonna go away, we're gonna put new things in, and we'll prioritize. Jim, you had your hand raised earlier?
I was just gonna say something about the charities thing, because I told that.
Oh, okay, very good. Steve?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that with the trucks that Julie brought up, a truck, when you go get your license, you're trained that you're supposed to put a tarp on your load. But stones come out of a truck in numerous places. The side gets a hole,
The
bottom of the floor
tires.
gets a hole, the part that holds all the load in doesn't close correctly, so a rock accidentally falls in there and it's off tilt, truck stones come out. So if a policeman is behind you and they see a stone coming out, you're getting pulled over and you're getting a ticket. So you don't, it's already a law. You don't need to address this at all.
Okay. Well, we were gonna check it out.
Well, you don't even have to waste your time because it's
Steve,
already a
thank you.
law.
Appreciate it very much. I did speak with Jeff Ronaldson earlier today, and he let me know about a fund that we used to get through the appropriations process, and I'm probably botching how he explained this, but they cut it by 75%. And it was a fund that comes to the state road fund. It has to do with roads. And they cut it, and he's suggesting, and I know that the IACE is going to lobby on this to make it statutory so that we know that this money is gonna come every time. But it's been a supplemental appropriation. It's called the State Road Fund. It's a multi-year program.
Jeff's right.
Hey, thank you.
Yes,
Save me because I can't explain this.
It kind of falls under your honor all the state's historical financial obligations line item.
Thank you, historical
But What it
financial.
is a county consolidated fund with a couple others, Meade Township, Hyco City. They're discretionary funds. It was established several capital bills ago when the state got money from capital bills, but the local governments did not. So the state decided, okay, we'll give you a little money out of our funds to kind of mend the fences, so to speak. So we've been getting for years is kind of consolidated. To us, it means 1.2 million per year. Well, before this last capital bill and the appropriations bill, they cut that by 75%. So that's $900,000 loss to us. So they realize that now, and according to a circular letter, they're going to restore it. But that will take an appropriations bill and veto session, which they've said they're going to do. But this is the second time they've graded it. So IACE is going to probably try and get a bill together to make that statutory, not discretionary by IDOT. So if they push a bill like that, I would recommend the county get on board with that. But in any event, please keep them to honor their obligations anyways.
And what do you use that money for now?
It goes into our motor fuel tax fund. It goes into roads and highways.
You don't do, because you said a local component that doesn't go out to local, you don't break that out?
I don't break it out, no, because all counties get a portion of this. There's a line item for needy townships, those that are most needy, and those that see the highest growth in cities. There's different categories.
Okay.
So they call it consolidated county fund.
Jeff, how long have we been suffering from the cut in that fund? How long has it been?
They did it a couple years ago, but then they restored it after great opposition. And this is the second time around. They did it earlier in the year. So we again spoke up again, and we're going to get it back. But it's kind of repetitive, and we would like to see security. So that's what's 1.2 million. We don't want to see it go away. Right.
Okay, so that's not exclusive or inclusive of everything. If there's something else that comes up that somebody would like to see on the state agenda, please let us know. If something comes up federal, you want to, we don't have that on here today, but certainly let Beth or I know, and we will add it, or let Maura know. Nana, you look like you need to say something. You're good. Okay, all right, so no other old business that I'm aware of. So now we come to election review. Hello, Counselor, come on down.
Everyone.
Good morning.
So I'm just gonna let you, I'm not really sure what you want to know about, so we're just here to help however we can.
Well, I got a report from a group called the Center for American Progress, and they did like election security in all 50 states. They did like a grading. Now, the state certainly is not the county, and we understand that, I think. That just because a grade at the state level doesn't mean that there's a problem with our work here at the county. We tested fair in every category that they tested on, and I will just read those briefly, what they are. Minimum cybersecurity standards for voter registration system. They gave us a mixed review. Voter verified paper audit trail, a fair review. Post-election audits, fair. Paper absentee ballots, fair. Voting machine certification requirements, fair. Pre-election logic accuracy testing, fair. The only thing that was of concern to me, and again, I don't know that it's a problem in our county at all, it says ballot accounting and reconciliation unsatisfactory, and that's a state grade, that's not a Will County grade. It says all ballots are accounted for at the precinct level. Well, we know that they are at Will County. I mean, you guys do the count before and after, and the numbers match the machine, so I don't see a problem. But they list a couple other things. They say precincts are required to compare and reconcile the number of ballots with the number of voters who signed in at the polling place. Is that what you did? That's what we do. It says, however, to the extent that a discrepancy is found, the discrepancy is resolved by removing excess voted ballots at random in jurisdictions using the optical scan machines. We don't do that, do we?
No.
Okay, that was definitely one of my questions. I'd never heard.
Can you read that again?
Yeah, it says, and there's a footnote here. I think I've sent this to you. It's footnote 518. It says, however, to the extent that a discrepancy is found, the discrepancy is resolved by removing excess voted ballots at random in jurisdictions using the optical scan machines. I read the wrong footnote. It's 519. I've never heard of that happening in our precincts. I've always, you know, they make that number match. The ballots always match the number on the machine, or they discover why.
That's right. Everything matches.
Okay.
retab and tabulate and retab. And
Until you get it to match.
I mean,
The number of people who came in on the poll book. Counties,
canvassing.
yeah,
process, too.
I don't know what county they do that in. I have no idea, because again, this is a state grade, and I don't know which counties they looked at. Counties are not explicitly required to compare and reconcile precinct totals with countywide results to ensure that they add up to the correct amount. Yeah, I know.
Yes.
So I don't know where these people were, but that was the only thing we didn't get a good grade on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's saying that the state doesn't require that, so that it's up, so this report is saying the state should require that. We already do it, so we're ahead of the curve, so that's great.
Right.
Okay,
What is
very
it?
good, thank you.
Can you tell us what you're reading?
This was the Center for American Progress. They did a study.
It's from February 2018.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me go back to the, oh, look, it's there now.
I just wanted to.
If you Google Center for American Progress, election security, 50
We've seen
states.
it before.
We,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, defending America's elections. And, you know, I mean, this just, obviously, election security is in the news every day. You know, the NACO is advocating for more money for elections. It seems to be stuck in Congress. They actually have the resolution here that came out of the committee. You know, that NACO opposes any legislation that imposes specific and impractical requirements regarding equipment, procedures, and personnel responsibilities. That worries me that that's what our position is on NACO. I mean, I do think this is a pretty straightforward thing, but maybe not. Maybe not. So I know Beth had questions, and I just was wondering how that meeting went with the group.
Ballot Integrity Project.
Ballot integrity.
We did, yes. It went well. We heard their concerns. And I think we listened. We are doing a lot on our end as far as, I mean, we just met with Mike Shea yesterday in ICT to go over, we've got some money still in the HABA grant to look at what more we can do as far as election security. We do quite a bit already, but there are some things that we're continuing to look into.
Sure.
It was a good meeting. We said we keep in touch. You know, they are obviously a group who goes out and looks to find, you know, things. We're pretty solid here in Will County. It's a lot of, you know, concerns with machines, things like that.
I think one of the big concerns would be post-election audits.
The audits.
I
after the
mean,
election.
they would, you know, increase those post-election audits significantly. Obviously, you know, we work, and obviously some of the things that they're talking about would be as well, would be election night audits, which, you know.
I mean, we talked to them about like what like their vision of what that looks like. I mean, and they want to see like a 10% audit of like the ballots on election night. I mean, essentially, they would want us to bring in, or our election judges that have been there from 4:30 in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, have them sit down and tick, you know, with a partner, you know, to audit the ballots. So essentially, you know what I mean, we will talk through some scenarios with them, and I mean, we'd have to bring in probably 8 more election judges at 7 o'clock at night when the polls close to do this audit. I mean, it's just, we discussed it with them. You know, we want to do as much as we can to make sure, but we do have, you know, the retab process. I mean, we have the canvassing process. We do a lot now. So it was, we're listening. We said, you know, we'll continue, we'll keep our lines of communication open, and go from there.
Have you heard anything about any suggestions about cost for like a complete mail ballot versus this struggle to get election judges and this struggle to upkeep and maintain poll books and polling locations and
Complete mail ballot, do you mean like vote by mail for everybody?
complete?
So yeah, we quickly, like preliminary, did like a quick like figured out the cost of what it is. So it's $2.42 right now to mail a ballot. So in the last consolidated election, there were like 430,000 voters, and so it'll be $1 million, over $1 million.
And what do we spend now?
Well, right now, We don't,
I don't know what the
we don't know the cost
specific
is
figure
now
is,
for,
but it's on request. It's a whole
No,
nother-
I'm sorry, let me be more specific. What do we spend on an election right now? From election judges to poll books to locations to printing of the any of these other costs that we have that we would no longer have to do if we went straight to the $2.42 a ballot.
You know, I don't think we came prepared with those
numbers.
numbers
Is
right now.
anybody talking about that in any of your clerks groups statewide?
Like the whole election cost is way more than 600.
Yeah, we're about 500 on printing.
The ballots alone cost
$500,000, right.
right.
You talked about it and how
Right.
many of them we have to print, which is ridiculous. Which, by the way, I think we should take that up, if nothing else, at the statewide. This idea of printing 110% of the registered voted ballots. Yeah, I mean, that's just a huge waste of money and resources. And if you're gonna do that, by golly, let's mail the darn things.
But Jackie, if you're going to mail, you're still going to have to do the printing because things get lost in the mail, things get damaged. So the problem, that cost isn't going to go away unless you can reduce that, that minimum required.
Oh, I don't know.
But even if you go to mailing,
I don't know
you
if it'll
still
double. That's my
have to do
question.
the printing.
Yeah, if you mail them a ballot, you still have to have a ballot if they want to come to vote at the,
Correct.
you don't know if they're coming or not.
That's
So
right.
It doubles the amount.
Well, there's probably ways around it. Rachel?
Yeah, so I'm all for mail-in ballot. One of the things I'd like to see is automatic renewal. So if you already, like last election I voted by mail, then I automatically renew.
So there's
and that will
discussion
help
about that in
get those numbers.
the last session. I paid close attention to legislation, so there was discussion about vote by mail in the last legislative session. And the Clerks Association, I think, is going back with some language about a list, like a voter list. So if you requested a ballot, a mail-in ballot in the last election, you will be put on like a permanent list, so you'll receive one going forward every election, instead of advocating for
But that
vote
would-
by mail.
Do you have
For
a,
That
everybody.
wouldn't stop you from still having to print ballots, because even though.
Right.
We still
It would
do
just
Rachel
be-
got hers
but
again,
the
she
other
may
thing about
decide
the
she wants
printing-
to
the other thing I
You're
wanted to
exactly
say about that was we already send out sample ballots to everybody. So there's a cost there. If you're sending just one ballot, the official ballot, you're not sending the sample ballot, you're printing half the amount of stuff.
Right?
But still, you decide to come in.
No, I know, but you still, right now, we're printing a sample, and then we're printing the ballot, whether it's in the mail or at the polls, right? 110% of those are being printed. Instead of printing the sample ballot, you actually print the ballot and send it out.
No, that makes a lot of sense,
Right,
Rachel.
that's half the amount of printing.
So you're gonna you're gonna print, you're gonna mail 100% of the registered voters, and especially in these like consolidated elections where 16, 17, 18% of the people vote. So you're gonna print 80% more ballots and mail them?
We already print 110%.
And we print
Oh,
the
we're
sample
not
ballot.
mailing, there's.
No,
the
that's true, we're not
And
mailing.
there's
Again,
envelope cost.
that
But
was
we
kind
are
of,
mailing the sample
But the
ballot.
sample,
The sample ballot is part of the voter information guide. A lot of that information is required, we have to, is required by the state that we have to send.
So why can't we put the ballot with it? You're
Yeah, I
you're
don't
already
know
mailing
that's
it,
why
you're
you
gonna
just
cut
do
half the
one
mailing
mail.
cost right
the
there.
state's attorney's gonna tell us why we can't do one
I
mailing.
wanted to point one thing out to everybody. I understand the concept if everybody voted by mail, it'd be great, but you're losing what's called the Australian system, which is the secret ballot. Because when you walk into your little polling place, obviously with the election judges there, you don't have your spouse, your boss, your club chairman tapping you on the shoulder saying, which way are you voting? When we mail these ballots to people at their house, God knows what influences could be caused to be used against them to vote a certain way because you don't have an election judge in a voting booth there. So that's one of the considerations you have to consider. Yeah, it's convenient, but you may be losing the secrecy of the ballots, and that's something to consider.
You see the nursing homes now.
Well, I know that they do this in other states, and obviously they.
Some states do it by internet too.
but also too, I think it's important to know that in other states,
Consider it.
when these are implemented in other states, the
Right.
State Board of Election also issues guidelines and directives on how these issues need to be carried out. That's something that we would need to be, we need to do as well. I mean, we wouldn't just want to start mailing out
Right.
ballots, with sample ballots,
With our voters guide
or,
and-
you know, with anything else that we might want to.
I'm sure
lot
this
of-
needs to be a statewide initiative,
It
right? But
does,
somebody's
absolutely.
got to start the conversation.
It started,
Yeah.
it
and-
started at the state level.
Thank you, and I'm just wondering if this should be on our state agenda.
That's the important thing, I think, that maybe is disconnected here, is that we're looking at these things to see what we may want to advocate for or be aware of, that some of these things that are being suggested increase costs from a state legislative, not to micromanage what you guys are doing currently for elections. We definitely understand that that can't happen. We're looking at the state legislative agenda lens.
But, and I think what Lauren has done over time, I think is take a look at the balance of what's required that we need to send out, what we need to reach out to voters on, you know, as required by the Illinois State Board of Elections, and also what we can do to reduce those costs as well with regard. I mean, we're taking a look at a number of different things, reducing the size of our voter cards, for example, to contain all the necessary information, but reducing the size so that instead of printing 2 per page, we're printing 4 per page. That way we'll save on some of those printing costs and we'll move those forward. So these are some of the things that we're doing
No,
now.
That way you
And
can
I
cut
am
lower
aware that-
picture off of
I
it.
still want them.
I am aware that you're working hard to consolidate and streamline and eliminate costs. Believe me, we understand that. But we also think that some of these requirements, like 110% of the
Right.
ballot, is a little ridiculous since there's never been 100% of voters show up in any county in Illinois.
That's
I
one of the
mean,
first things we noticed. when we got it.
Yeah, it
Holy
just-
crap.
I mean, even if you
Right.
just reduced it to 90%, I mean,
We talked
and
about that.
remember, we all know you can print ballots on demand.
Correct.
Right.
I believe even at the polling place.
Well, that's what I was.
I'm not certain, but I know at the early voting
At
places,
the
you
early
can
voting,
print them on
at the early voting
demand.
locations, we have ballot on demand.
Yeah.
So,
Julie's next, Jim. now.
Lauren,
Julie.
can you tell us, who is this voting integrity group? Can you tell us a
They're
little
just
bit
a
about them?
advocacy group, I don't know.
They are, they're an advocacy group.
It's the Ballot Integrity Group.
Ballot
Integrity
Integrity
Project.
Melissa
Is their name.
Erda is
Oh, yeah,
one of the
Melissa
people, I
Erda.
believe, you brought them to our attention, Mimi, we met with them back in
July.
July, right.
Are they going throughout the state?
I think they will talk to whoever will talk with them. I mean,
And look, many jurisdictions won't open their doors to them.
That's right.
We did.
Yeah.
We want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, I think it's really important, even if you don't agree with what they're saying about us, it's nice to know what people are saying about you or the department or the process of voting or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
That's why.
need all the information you can gather. Jim?
I was going to ask that, we all know that in early voting, we print ballots on demand. I would be interested to see what would the cost be if we did like on election day, printing ballots on demand. That's number one. And you have to look at the cost of printing the ballots and so forth.
Yeah, Jim, you bring a good point. What if they were given 50% upfront and then the ability to print on demand for anything extra?
I think if they're printing on demand, really,
And then putting a
the
loan.
way to try to move forward. Especially, I can't speak for all your areas, but we've done a lot more consolidation, at least in my area. So we got 2, 3, sometimes up to 3 precincts in one location, and they could use one machine to print.
Right.
We've inherited machines right now that, that Lauren's working to upgrade the speed on some of these machines. But even in the consolidated election, excuse me, we've got machines, where there's not a huge crowd, where it may take up to a minute.
A minute,
to print
5
the ballot,
minutes for
right.
somebody waiting for a ballot. Like, we have to upgrade the machine. Like,
Well-
nothing has been upgraded in the office for a very long
So
time.
you just have to
So
sit
we are
there and do
looking
the
at
input, I
costs.
understand.
Honestly,
but
I
I'd
mean,
be interested
yeah.
in see.
That's a great idea, but our equipment would never allow for that.
Not at this point,
Correct.
sure. Rachel?
What if they had something along the lines of 110% of the average turnout from the last
Right.
3 to 5 years? So if your average turnout is 20%, 110% of that is like 30% of the ballots, right? But then you're looking at the trend of it. I mean, something along those lines. And then you could have the print on demand after that.
Yeah.
It would be unlikely you would probably even go past that.
Mimi?
So I have some things that I'm not sure if it's appropriate to discuss for the state legislative agenda, but regarding voting, but doesn't necessarily pertain to you guys. But my one question for you guys is, what would you like to see us advocate for as a board on your behalf at the state level and the federal level? I know we're talking about the state, but, and parallel to that, what can we as a committee and a board do to support, especially, I think everybody's on board about supporting increased voter turnout and election security. So I would like to hear from you guys, those two things in particular.
I think that's like we can definitely go back and, you know, figure out some things that like prioritize, you know what I mean? Since, you know, getting in there the past 9 months, we've learned a lot about our equipment, our hardware, software,
And what you need and
what we
you
need
will
and
need.
exactly. So I think it would be good for us to talk about that and be able to prioritize it and come back and let you all know.
Yeah, I gotta believe it's different too, a consolidated election versus now you're going into a primary and a presidential. So you're gonna get more experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we haven't seen the turnout yet, right, for in a general, you know what I mean? So I appreciate that question for sure. You know what I mean? Like we would love to like sit down and really prioritize, you know, the things that we would love your support on, because there are.
Certainly ballot, flexibility in ballot printing would be
Very
a good thing,
helpful.
yeah.
Yes.
That I think we talked
You're
about in
next.
the election report that I gave earlier. I mean, that's something that, like I said, we noticed immediately. It's insane, the waste.
Some people got turned in
The ballots that got printed, and then we had to print the applications too, but we found a way to make our applications green going forward. So we'll be able to print those and then use them going forward. Before they were printed with the election date and everything on them, we're not gonna do that. Now there's gonna be a label that gets put on those, so we'll be able to print those with no problem.
So could you guys give us language to put into the state agenda for something like that?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I think we're gonna, you know, all of the little things that we're talking about doing are gonna cost money. And I think we need to be more forward thinking and start looking at the next level. I know you guys have done some of that. Mimi and Jim and I did the presentation at NACO on some of the machines that are out there. You take blank pieces of paper and print your votes, and we have a hard copy as well. We need to be, obviously, if we bought it 3 years from now, the technology will change by then. But we need to be looking at that stuff now, mainly so we can figure costs. We stood right in front and I said, okay, this is a $5.5 million purchase. But if we start looking at that now and say, you know, instead of doing this year, maybe that money sets aside to get us ahead for when we buy the next set of machinery that jumps us.
And that's a great point, Mike. We just met with our election vendor recently as well and talked to them about having the express vote machines brought here to Will County and having like an open house. We're not sure of like the venue yet, but really just like a touch and feel, invite everybody and anybody that wants to come.
Kick the tires.
That's Chuck's favorite term. Kick the tires. But you know what I mean? Just
Touch and feel, use your hands.
You know, check it out. Everybody, county board, I mean, anybody that wants to come, we want you to be there. Look at the machines. Our vendor will be there to show you exactly how it works, the process, and just to start that forward thinking. I mean, that Chuck and I have talked about that at length. Like, we need to start talking about that now. Looking at it now, you know, do we get rid of the M100s? Do you know what it all looks like for the future? Because, like I said, we have learned that we need to look towards the future and make some upgrades because our, you know, operating systems are end of life. There's all kinds of stuff that happens quickly, and so we need to be ready for that.
And you can't really phase that in. It's got to be, we're either doing it or we're not in a lot of cases, because the technology is going to be so different. If you have people going to different places to vote, they'll be totally confused. But like you said, if we do that and have some videos about here's some of the upcoming products that are going to be out there, not that we've bought them yet, but
it's right. It's not like a decision-making process. It's just come and check it out. Let us know how you feel about it. That's really it. You know what I mean? Like, check it out. And I think we're planning on doing that in November.
Right.
Like, so soon.
Tentative, right.
So tentatively in November. So
Are you letting other counties around us know?
I think what we're looking at is trying to do outreach so we get county board members, we get anyone who's involved in elections in any capacity, our local public here as well. We're looking for feedback from, from everybody, anyone who has a stake in our local elections, pretty much anybody locally here.
Right.
So.
Some of the other counties already use
Some
equipment too.
I don't know if you had an announcement.
We will, we're working on it with our vendor and we will we'll be the first to know.
Thank you.
Metis?
The $2.42 for the mail-in ballots currently, is that $2.42 just your postage? Is that the whole piece of mail? Just the postage?
That's just the.
That's not the cost of any of the materials that's in
It all
it?
goes in one,
One
packet,
packet.
242, like the return goes in there and everything, like
So
the
242 is just the
ballot
postage?
application, return
Yeah.
envelope, 242 is just the
Prepaid
postage.
return?
But it's,
Yes,
but
it
it's
is.
not the
Yes.
printed, it's not any printed.
But it doesn't include the printing or the
Or the
multiple
envelopes.
envelopes that are in
Right.
there?
Right.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
But that does include the postage for the
The return.
return.
Right.
That's right.
It's just the postage.
That's
Judy?
Yes, that's
It's
right.
$1.21 each way.
Each way.
Yeah, thank you.
Round trip.
So I mail and mail it all the time, It's the easiest thing to do.
Yep.
What I was gonna say is, I know when you look at the list of people we have as registered voters, sometimes at a particular house, there's a ton of people there. And they're not all actually living there. What is the easiest way to really work on, people move, especially if you're in apartments? I mean, people come and go constantly, right? If you look at my district, if you look at some of my places, even some houses, I can have up to 12 registered voters in an age group in one house.
It's changed now, first.
Should help.
I don't know. Well, sometimes people
We'll have to ask
update
our voter
their
registration
apartments.
team exactly what the,
Because I know if somebody passes, you guys take them off after
there's a, that's
after
correct.
time, right? And that's, but I just know, and I know people moving, that gives you a hard time because they're still on, because they haven't moved, or they just recently moved to be there. But there are some homes in my district where I have like 12 people registered, and it doesn't appear to be a family because everybody's in that similar age group.
Or
And
different
Judy,
names.
that
Different
would
names
be-
means nothing nowadays.
And that would be a problem if we went to 100% mail ballots.
Because then we're gonna mail
because-
12 to this
Right,
house
gotcha.
that has all these people there.
Changing your driver's
Judy?
license for that address change?
I believe that if
They
the
may not do
postman
it,
office
right?
knows that you've moved, you have a forwarding order, a lot of mail won't get delivered because
If
the
if
staff
you put the
members-
forwarding order in the mail off, if you haven't.
Yeah.
And the post office forwarding only lasts, I think, 6 to 9
Short
days.
time period.
Yeah, I don't know the exact process, but yeah, it would be a problem.
Yeah.
That's statute though.
The people in this house were all in the same age, like all of us living together. I don't know, maybe we have a constant going around out there. We might in our area, Lori, everything's possible.
Anything?
Another,
Never mind, go ahead, Julie.
another problem with the mail, we have it everyday, regularly, we get other people's mail. And other people get our mail, and we take the time to go deliver it. But, there's a lot of people who throw it away, or you never know where things go.
No,
But
the
that's
mail
another
isn't
thing
the
we
end
can't
all be
control.
all, there's no question, yeah.
Oh, I want to say one more thing I said, I'm sorry. I did talk with Lauren, so we are going to get together next month and start discussing software. So we can look at the software needs that she has, so we can make a plan going forward as to this is what she needs, this is what she's looking at, these are the expected costs, so we can kind of figure that out. So we're starting next month on that.
And that software goes hand in hand with the equipment, right?
Some of it, not all of it, right?
Okay. All right, Beth?
Okay. A couple months back, you gave a report on the past election. It was outstanding. That's what got me really thinking about, there's probably a lot we should be advocating for here. And I'm glad that you're going to take some time and give us what you think should be advocated for. And I was just hoping that you could include the new, I think it's Senate Bill 2090, jail prison voting in that. I know it's new. I don't really have a full understanding of it, but if you could review it and see what that means to your office, I think that'd be solid, because it's
Yeah, I was assured by the last clerk that everybody in jail got the opportunity to vote. I actually brought a volunteer group to her that was willing to go into the jail and help people register and vote, but I was told that it was not needed, so.
They do have the opportunity to vote now currently in the jail, but I am familiar with the legislation, so we're going to continue discussions with the sheriff's department.
Hey, look at here, we got some.
We have request forms that we've had for years that they get the opportunity, if they want to vote, they can request it.
Right.
And we give them the opportunity to vote.
So what is the change, I guess, is what I'm curious.
I don't think all counties did that.
Oh,
I think there's some changes that require, if you have over 3 million people, that require temporary polling place in the jails. So some things that don't even pertain
It's
to
Cook
us.
County.
Cook
It's Cook County. It's a much different animal in Cook County. And they have volunteer groups that go in there too to register voters, but not to actually help them vote, just register. Yeah.
But we are familiar with legislation. We're already, we've looked at it, and we will, if there's anything else we need to do, we'll work with the sheriff's department. But they already have the opportunity now to do that, so.
Cool. Jim, did you have anything?
Yeah, I'm going to come back to the putting in the ballot. And why don't we ask one of our legislators to propose legislation to reduce it based on the fact that 25% of the people are voting early. So I think if you base it on the amount of early voting, that the same amount of ballots are not required, I think at least there's a good basis for it. We should ask our legislators if they can bring some legislation forward.
Agreed.
In that regard.
Yeah, we'll add it. It makes a lot of sense. Lori, did you have something else? Rachel?
Yeah, so going back to the jails, so do they get the sample ballots all sent to them now, or is it only through the request form? Because some people may not know their rights to vote when they're in jail. So do we send the sample ballot to the people who are currently waiting?
We send the sample ballots go out to households.
Okay.
And there's one sample ballot per household. So that goes back to the issue that you raised before with regard to mailing ballots with the sample ballots. We send one per household, and it covers a number of different things, a number of different notifications that are required. So if you have 5 registered voters in one house, you get one sample ballot that goes to that specific household.
Would it be possible to figure out how many inmates are in Will County and send that to the number of sample ballots?
Well, the sample ballots are specific to their
Part of the issue
right.
there, and maybe Phil.
But they would know their voter addresses in the.
So part of the issue there, and Phil can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the length of time that they need to be in there to create sort of their domicile. It's it's a real like legalese type thing. Would be to use that address to vote from, you've got to be held by the jail for a certain amount of time. I believe that was my initial look at the legislation, and I don't know if.
Does that change at all, Phil? I mean, if your home address is your home address.
No, but with the new legislation, I believe it talks about basically you're in that district if you've been there for a year, because there are some people that are held more in Cook County than here. And the trouble is they pass a law for Cook County and it affects the whole state, and it has unintended consequences everywhere else.
Right.
But that's what they're talking about. Well, most of the people in our jail, we have a very small percentage.
There's a few, I'd say 10%.
Period of time. Most of them come in and out. They're there for 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks, and they're gone. So it's hard to know between the time when you would mail a sample ballot versus the time when you vote. Some of the people aren't even in there anymore, and you got a lot of new people in there that weren't.
Are they given any information in general then about their rights to vote, to request a form, because they may not know?
Well, I think that's what this advocacy group had wanted to do, but it didn't seem like that was an interest of our clerk at the time.
I believe that's what the legislation addresses, and that's something we need to sit down and talk with the sheriff's department.
Yeah, they're looking over
it.
it.
If you check into it, can you check to see if there's 3 million in the county or 3 million in the jails?
No, it's in the county.
It's in the county. Okay, so that would affect your. Well, he said if they pass it for this Cook, it affects for the whole state?
No.
You're saying only if it's 3 billion?
No,
3 million.
they have a specific carve out that says you have to have a polling place in Cook County.
Yeah.
But they do it by population.
Right.
But the whole idea of the whole statute was based on Cook County issues, and they applied it all to the state, but they added an additional part of a polling place for Cook County.
Right. Okay, and then my
Because it's
last
such a
follow-up
big
on
deal.
that is, for people who have served felonies, is there any information that our county gives them on their right to vote when they get their voter rights back after they've served their time?
That's part of the legislation as well. And again, that's something we need to talk about with both Sheriff's Department and DOC on that as well. So.
Thank you.
And it's more DOC.
Right,
Because
DOC, right.
you only lose, in Illinois, you only lose your right to vote while you're incarcerated
Right.
in the Department of Corrections. Jail people never lose it. If I get convicted of a felony when I'm on probation, I can vote the next day.
Right.
What I can't do is run for office, that's a different issue.
But again, that's what the legislation ups the ante on that with regard to those.
Right. But I think education is important because a lot of people don't know what the state's attorney just said. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that was it. That was it.
Thank you. And we'll come back, we'll let you know about the event with the voting equipment.
And your wish list.
And our wish list.
And
Yes.
Although honestly, the wish list, I mean, you might want to know just for information's sake, it's probably more for the finance committee.
True, true. So we will come to both. Thank you
And
so
the
much
state
for having
agenda,
me.
yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Thank you. All right. Oh, the gas taxes. Okay, I thought maybe, I couldn't remember, there was no attachment. I had asked for information on the gas taxes in the different towns, the municipalities that charge tax, in one of the other committees, I think in finance, and I think that somehow it got on our agenda, but Mike?
Well, on that, and I think, Maura, did you send out what the gas taxes were?
I didn't get anything.
I sent out it's an estimate, but
Estimate.
I did send it out.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, I sent it
I
twice.
thought you sent it out, but
Sent it twice.
Jim brought up the point, and apparently we used to do this
Why am I not getting it?
back in the day, but I think we should look at a resolution here, if we can, in the county, of requiring the gas stations to put the breakout of the taxes.
Yeah, oh, that was it, that was it.
That's why.
That was what
Now, I
that
don't know if
meant.
we
Thank
can,
you.
if we can do that on our
What
own,
the hell?
I don't think we
or
can.
that has to be legislation.
I think it has to be legislation, but that's just
That's
my
what, yeah, that brought me up.
That's why it was on our list. I couldn't, I'm like, there's no amounts here, and that's what I asked for, but yeah, it was about putting the gas taxes on
Could we do that without having the?
No, you need state authority for that.
Yeah, no, it's going on our legislative agenda.
Right.
I mean, well, I mean, is
Yes,
everybody?
we all agree.
Do we all?
I think so.
We don't have to decide today, it can be brought up.
Yeah, we
draft
could-
form, then we can.
Why would you not
I
be
think
for
we
it?
want to make
No,
sure
I'm
that
for
whatever.
I would think we would all.
You didn't get a legislative.
Yeah, we're not taking a vote.
Oh, we're
We're
not.
just looking for
Yeah,
consensus.
no, we're not.
Yeah, just looking for consensus.
I
Yeah.
think whatever we do though, we want to make sure that we know this is for the benefit of the consumer, but we don't want to make it a burden. So I know, like in retail, when you have to put up new signage and everything, and if they get real specific, it can create a problem. But I
A
think,
sticker that could go on the
you know,
tanks, and
yeah,
it's not gonna change
as
that
long as
often.
we make sure.
The state, it could change every year now, but
But it's
it's a
not like
sticker
we're
like
going
every
to.
other sticker
Right,
you have
yeah.
to put on there, certified.
Well, it won't change every year because it's got a CPI.
Right, but I'm saying, there's a sticker they have to put on the pump every year to certify the pump works correctly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be part of that issue as well.
The percentage won't change, the number might.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
So, not necessarily a new sticker every year.
no, the dollar,
Right.
no, you'll
Dollar
want the dollar
amount.
amount on there, 3 cents, 19 cents. Next year, the state tax will be more than 19 cents.
I was saying
As
as
it
a
moves up.
Because they're
percentage,
adjusting.
if you use a percentage, it'll,
I would put the exact number.
yeah. Well, and
38 state.
We can put forward the idea and let the legislators who don't have time to deal with pensions figure out about the gas stickers. Yes.
I was just gonna suggest that when you do make a legislative suggestion, you have to determine if you wanna just have all tax and gasoline costs, or break it down by each different type of tax, because you got sales tax
We
involved in
had
there.
talked about each different type, because we
Okay.
want to know, like, how much is Bolingbrook charging? I know they, at one point were charging a nickel for the trees. They've been charging it forever, but that's the only part of it that I know about. There's other taxes I'm sure that Bolingbrook is getting. Yeah, and there's all kinds of taxes.
Listed on there.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, we can't make it too complicated, but we need to ask for something, because people want to know.
Right, and I asked why the gas is
So high. Like, they doubled the tax, and in Bolingbrook, you wouldn't know it. The prices of the gasoline didn't go up that much. I mean, a couple of pennies. Right, and that's.
Go on Saturday.
Right.
That's the new routine now. They move it up and down, and you can see a 30-cent difference on the weekend when they know the biggest crowd is coming for gas.
Yeah,
So they're playing that
they
game.
definitely are a free market organization. Yeah, go ahead.
So when I was visiting my daughter in Washington, that's why I had suggested this, it very clearly on the pump, and it was little stickers that said federal, state, and the local tax. Now, they don't have an RTA tax there, but it was just like so much cents, 44 cents, 22 cents, whatever the numbers were, I don't know. But that was the first time I saw it, I know, and I looked in Indiana, they don't have it. But then you know that your gas amount is including all those taxes, because you don't really know what it is, so it'd be good. I think it's good, and it is just a sticker, like your license plate sticker they could put on top.
Is it Washington or Oregon that has to pump the gas for you?
Oregon has. It's not Oregon, because I pump my own in Washington.
In New Jersey, that's.
No,
Yeah.
Oregon, the state of Oregon, you have to hire technicians to pump your gas.
And they don't pay any more for gas than the people that have to pump it themselves. I'd like to go back to sitting in my car.
It creates jobs.
Especially when it's raining.
Yeah.
In winter.
And they wash your windows. They used to, and check your oil and all that fun stuff. Now we get nothing. I know, and they didn't lower the price at all. It's terrible. Did I see another meeting somewhere? No? Okay, so I think we've covered everything on our agenda. Ta-da! And we're finishing 15 minutes early!
All right.
Should we,
Oh, can I just say one thing?
Yes, ma'am.
I may have said this at
We have
our last
15 minutes.
Well, I'll say it very slowly then. So at the Large County Caucus meeting on August 16th, we discussed if members want to put forward anything that they want the Large County Caucus to advocate for. So I'm officially soliciting ideas and things that we could.
I think the voting, the ballots, the number of printed ballots, and probably taxes on the pump. Those seem like.
That's federal, we're looking at federal. And by the way, I haven't been getting that sick of this letter. They haven't sent it.
I get like 3 of them, you have one right.
You're getting Rachel's.
I get one.
Just tell you,
I think you can sign up for it.
No, they were sending it to me, and now I'm
Yeah.
not.
Maybe it's in your spam?
I can check my spam.
Yeah.
Well, Jackie, maybe we can sit down and
Yeah.
we'll talk about that.
Yep. Okay, anything else for the good of the committee or just for fun? Anybody celebrating anything today?
it was Maura's birthday this weekend.
Yes, it was. Happy birthday. 29 years old. Poor young.
21st anniversary of my 21st.
Well, happy birthday, Laura. All right, well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Public comment.
Oh, sorry, thank you. I don't have an agenda in front of me. I'm busy looking at this other lecture. Any public comment? Hello, public. Would you like to come forward? Public comment, please. Okay, no public comment. Motion to adjourn? Meta? Second. Judy, all in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned until our next.